Woo! All right, March Madness is over. Let's get to best ball. Yo! Welcome in, everybody. I am Brian Hartman, and welcome to Too Much Best Ball, the show brought to you by the Fantasy Football Advice Network and sponsored by Underdog. All right, everybody, we are a mere 2 weeks away from the NFL Draft, and on Underdog right now, we still have the big board and the little big board to hop into, so I can't tell you how many drafts I've got going right now. Fast, slow. Hang on, I gotta make a pick. Cool. And I just can't stop myself. I am too locked in. And of course, on today's episode, we will be focusing on CJ Stroud. No, Brian. No, too much. We're cutting it. Pulling back. Just kidding. Today, we are going over rookie running backs. We kind of touched on rookie wide receivers on Monday. So today, I want to talk to you about the rookie running back position and why it is so important for you to load up in your best ball tournaments, especially before the draft. I know we don't know where these guys are going, but we're going to figure out the best strategy to go about this. Load the graphic. So you've probably heard of the strategy 0RB or Hero RB. We've touched on it a couple of times already in just these episodes, and everybody else should be talking about it. It's what wins these big tournament drafts. And that's what we're talking about today. Playing in these tournaments and the best strategy to go about that. Because 0RB is king. I'm not a fan of it. I love taking my running backs, but at the same time, I'm not going to go with my heart every single time. I'm going to follow what the numbers say. And the numbers say the best way to exploit ADP is by taking running backs late. Especially these young guys with all these question marks. And granted, the question marks are even bigger when we're doing this before the draft. But let's take a look at a handful of guys that stand a good chance of getting decent draft capital while also being productive this year. There we go. Awesome. So right now we're looking at Trey Benson, Jonathan Brooks, Blake Corum, Jalen Wright, Marshawn Lloyd, and Braylon Allen. Yep, a lot of names, but those are your big six. This is the tier of rookie running backs before it breaks off into a lot of these question marks. And yeah, we don't know where these guys are going, but Trey Benson is above everybody else in ADP. And we have several teams with a huge need. The Cowboys probably the biggest one that we're looking at right now. They've got Rico Dowdle back there. They're talking about flirting with Zeke, but they need a running back. Also, the Giants. They signed Devin Singletary, but we could see some additions there as well. So we have roles for these running backs to plug into. So grabbing these guys at RB31, RB37. Jonathan Brooks we'll talk about here in a little bit. But Blake Corum at RB40. Jalen Wright at 42. Marshawn Lloyd at 45. And then Braylon Allen at 48. These guys are so far back that who you're picking them with, you need to go with these young running backs. When you're putting these rookies compared to some of these couple-year vets, that scale leans so much harder on the rookies. The chances of them having an injury in front of them just flat out earning the job, or just being more efficient because they're younger. We're going to see that. We see it every year, and we're about to talk about that as well. So taking your shot in rounds 8 to 12, 8 to 15 with a whole bunch of running backs just makes so much sense to me because of not only the rookies, but the other running backs you're grabbing here. So I've told you these rookie running backs work. Let's grab Doc Brown and go back in time and see what happens. So going back in time, you're going to see a trend of at least 2 rookie running backs going to be in the top 10. Now, is it every year? No, but we're averaging that over the course of the decade. Last year, we saw Bijan finish at 9, Gibbs finish at 10. Then we've got another guy in Devon Achane, who we got way late in drafts, finished as RB24. Why? Because his running mate was the RB2. Wait, no, it was because of those missed games and the injury. He finished the RB4 in points per game. Then you also had Tajay Spears with all the talking about his bad knee and the comparisons to Gurley and what that's going to look like. He still finished multiple games inside the top 10 while splitting a backfield with Derrick Henry. Doc, let's take us back again. 2022, here we come. 2022 gave us another studly running back in Breece Hall. Now, while he only finished 7 games in the season due to an ACL tear, he was the RB6 in those first 7 games. RB6. Kenneth Walker ends up finishing as the RB18, but in a points per game basis, finished as the RB14 overall. Also giving you an RB1 finish in the championship week. The so coveted week that we need to win these big tournaments. Dameon Pierce, another late guy, he was a day 3 pick, finishes RB25. Tyler Algier, another day 3 pick, finishes RB29. We had Rashad White at 38. Then we've got Pacheco finishing at RB35. He was a top 30 finisher in each of his final 8 weeks. James Cook didn't get a whole lot of work his rookie season, but gave us a top 10 finish in the semifinal week. Doc Brown, we got to keep going back. 2021, here we go. Travis Etienne being a first-round pick in the 2021 draft he was knocked out for the entire season with a foot injury, so 2022 would have been his first full season, and he finished at RB17. Najee Harris being a first-round draft pick in 2021 finishes the RB4. A lot to do with the geriatric quarterback that was dumping off passes left and right to him. Similar scenario for him this year. Javonte Williams finishes the RB17, gave you a number 1 overall week and multiple finishes in the top 10. Michael Carter finishes RB28, gave a number 1 overall week. Kenneth Gainwell down there at 41, and then Khalil Herbert also gave you 2 top 10 finishes. So all this to say, we have so many opportunities with these running backs, with so many holes being plugged in, and also the NFL is changing. We don't have a lot of teams that are just running one running back. A lot of these teams are deploying 2 and 3 guys, which is giving great opportunities for some of these running backs in this draft class, even though it may be perceived as weaker, because a lot of these late guys are great pass catchers. Bucky Irving, Ray Davis, Will Shipley, Dylan Laube, Frank Gore Jr., if you really want to get crazy with some of those things that maybe the Niners might do, grabbing him. But these are all guys going way later, so if you're needing to tackle on one more running back in there, I think if Bucky Irving and Will Shipley get an opportunity this year, it will be more in a pass catching role, which, as we know, is more valuable than a rush. And then Ray Davis, he's just as old as most of these other running backs, hopefully getting an opportunity early with this team knowing, the twilight's coming right around the corner for him. So we're seeing our best opportunity to grab a running back somewhere starting with that round 8, 9, 10, and it kind of carries you all the way into the teens, into those 12, 13, 14, 15. This is also the point of the draft where we need to stop caring about ADP. I heard somebody recently reference best ball drafts to kind of auction drafts, the way you should look at ADP. Because when you get to an auction draft, those last 50 plus picks, they're usually $1 bets. You're not spending a lot, which kind of means the ADP, the draft capital, the value for these guys really doesn't matter. So stay away from ADP drafting. I'm not saying throw it out the window completely, but scroll a little bit. Look for these guys that are a little later. Start finding guys that you want to target and building them so that you can have the correlation with teams, so that you can have high upside players, so you can have rookies. Don't fall victim to what that ADP is, because it's the easiest thing to exploit right now. If you follow ADP, you're going to have a 70, 80+% roster that is similar to everybody else's. So then you are truly putting it up to luck and hoping that you get that right one. Whereas if you go scrolling looking for your guys, those guys that you think are going to compete, the guys that are worth just as much as the ones that are going round 2, 3, 4 before them, go for them. Go for your guys, build your stacks, make your team the way you want to. Because in all honesty, with a $3 little big board right now, you can make as many teams as you want, especially if you are using the code ffadvice, because newcomers, we will match up to a $100 deposit on Underdog. Don't forget ffadvice. Well, everybody, I can't thank you enough for hanging out with us again. This was a quick one. Tomorrow night we will be having a live draft, so make sure you are ready to hang out with me and a few surprise guests. We're going to be having a blast. Hop in the draft with us, if you will. We'll be sending out that link later tomorrow afternoon so anybody can hop in it. Until then, I'm Too Much Brian. I'll see you next time.